in this spirit, do you mind if we open in prayer? Dear Heavenly Father, I come to you saying thank you so very much for this connection and energy. I thank you so much for the words that are going to be spoken and the lives that they impact peacefully, positively, and for a better provoking of thoughts. I thank you so much for the time and energy that's going to be here, and that's going to be focused, and it's going to be centered around expressing and sharing the jam good news of this human being's existence. I'm thankful for his time, and I pray that this is exactly what is needed for all the souls that are involved. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Alrighty. Hello, everybody, and welcome. I am Jessica A. Ross here on Jam Good News. I am honored and so pleased because I get the opportunity to introduce Mr. Daniel Dickey. And him being here and him being alive is truly Jam Good News. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's the warmth for me.
Oh, I love it. I love it. It's a pleasure. Well, I would say the first thing I noticed about you was your warmth. Talk to me about why you envelop people in so much love, even when you're first meeting them.
So I think the authenticity of existence and the authenticity of connection is a really important key ingredient to understanding who you are and understanding how you show up and relate to the world. And so for me, one of the ways that I live and one of the things I live with in every moment is something I call the Kim principle. Mm-hmm. It's my belief that if you're able to find a way to keep it moving forward positively and productively, no matter what comes your way in life, it will be essentially almost like you're reverse engineering or curating your own karma through that. And so if I want to have a great frequency and be a great vibration, that's what I need to bring. And so because my mind is always centered around being positive and productive, that energy is what people feel from me. And I love God and I love people, and I think it's important that they both know.
I love that. See, Jam Good News. Can't you just feel it? In terms of understanding vibration, because I know that that's a word that you use as a part of how you understand life to be. Mm-hmm. How did you come to that understanding, and how do you implement it?
I think a part of it comes from the understanding of kind of just what your spirit is saying and doing and discerning in most of the moments in your life. I've been a person who has always, even when I look back over my life, I see favor in every chapter of my life, even in those situations where mercy was given to me, in situations where I maybe didn't deserve it, because I was always a mischievous kid, the sultan of mischief, actually. And so, I could always find my smile, and I could always find the smiles of others. But then I also noticed throughout my life that leaders were always very interested in what this little kid was thinking, what he was doing. Would tell my parents, like, hey, I really like that kid. And I have two older brothers and one little sister, but even in those situations, I would find myself being set apart in certain situations, and understanding now how the Kim principle keeps my frequency much higher than most people's, because more times than not, when life's stimulants come, people can't wait to be down in the dumps and talk about how woe is me and how the world is screwing me over and all those other kinds of things. But I think if you just don't even have an energy that even thinks about those things in a way where you're submerged in them, I think it's easier to come out of them and to pull others out of them, and to be on a frequency, on a vibrational frequency where blessings are attracted to you. Like, I live in a life now where I live a very minimalistic life. And fortunately I have sponsors. In fact, shout out to the sponsors.
Wow.
Okay, drip for sale. But my blessings are attracted to me, and I can tell. So when I leave my house, I already know in advance that people are going to be wanting to give me things. Mm-hmm. And I have to sometimes prep people who are spending time with me, like, listen, just roll with it. Somebody may want to give us something, and it might not be anyone I know or anything, but I understand that that's what my vibration attracts. Mm-hmm. People want to get onto this frequency, and that's what our agency does. I sell my frequency to our clients, lease my frequency. Lease my frequency to our clients. And it's that, people love me. They want to be around, and they want to bring their gifts around me for whatever reason, and I get to transfer all those throughout the culture and throughout the community. And so I think that's what vibration means to me, is an understanding that I don't have to go down there. You know what I mean? I can stay up here and still sort through all the things that need to be sorted through. I think about this one time, I think about this Jay-Z quote. And they asked Jay-Z, they were like, Jay-Z, you know, how do you feel about how, you know, when rappers, you know, diss you in songs and stuff like that? And, you know, and how come you don't respond? And Jay-Z was like, what am I supposed to do? Run down the hill every time one of these little rappers say my name? And it was the down the hill that was for me. It's like, I'm supposed to run down the hill every time one of these little rappers say my name. And that's just like, to me, it's just like the same thing with vibes. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm not matching energy. Either you can get up here or you just won't.
I love that. I've heard this analogy that you can be a thermometer or a thermostat.
Yes.
You can either tell us what the temperature is because you're saying from what's around you, or you can set it because you're regulating how it is. Yeah,
definitely. That's definitely an analogy that I'm very familiar with. But the other aspect of it is that another difference between the thermostat and the thermometer is the thermometer can tell you the temperature, and that's it. A thermostat can also tell you the temperature because it knows as well. It just has the power to change it.
Wow, I love that.
You know what I mean?
The nuance on that. I love that. You spoke briefly about your agency, and I actually was able to meet you because of your agency on your last Tuesdays. Your Black networking for
Black Media Mixer.
Your Black Media Mixer. Talk to me about creating something like that and finding a way to lease your energy out.
So I think that it's honestly just, and I want to say this to anyone who produces events, no matter what type of event you produce, especially in the Black community, like our oppressors have done such an extraordinary job at making us divided and disconnected. So anytime you have a ambition to do things that bring our people together around anything positive and productive, it's a form of activism, you know, in my opinion. And so I think with the media landscape being the messaging that is impacting and influencing our culture, I think it's really important to try to bring unity into that space. And so that's why we created the Black Media Mixer, to bring unity amongst our Black media. It's like, you know, some of these people are working for some of the top TV and news and radio stations and all those things. But a lot of times, if you're at the top of that industry, you don't own the radio station, you don't own the television network, you don't own CBS or Fox or ABC, you don't own V103, you don't own Streets 94.5. So what would the logic be behind you competing with the people at these other stations? You know? And so instead of this competitive energy, let's bring an energy that brings cohesion and also support. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, a lot of times with our journalists, they are talking about a lot of the most troubling, most plaguing, most horrific things that are happening in our cities. But where do they go to just not be a journalist in that way? Where do they go to just hang out, have a drink, you know, get some food, and those kinds of things? And so those are some of the reasons why we created the Black Media Mixer. We've been doing it for about 2 years now. We've had, you know, so many Emmy and so many award-winning journalists that come and they just get so much out of it because, you know, we do a panel every month where we talk to we bring about 4 or 5 of these media professionals on stage to talk to myself, you know what I mean? And it's always a very raw conversation. I don't give them the questions in advance. There's no prep or any of that kind of stuff. So we want to have an authentic conversation about what's authentically happening in our culture and how these media people can be impactful to maybe sharing stories or illuminating opportunities to change the color of some of the conversations that we're having within media. And so bringing about unity in media and creating a space for unity to feel loved, supported, and for them to get to know each other outside of the competitiveness of ratings and sweeps and all of those different kinds of things. And so that's why we do the Black Media Mixer. And at the Black Media Mixer every month, we feature some type of Black restaurant, Black chef, and then some type of Black liquor or Black wine. And so in that environment for those businesses, it's almost like they're getting to have a media tasting. And all they're doing is sponsoring food for 20 or 30 people and sponsoring drinks for 20 or 30 people, but it's all media and active media professionals.
brilliant first. And I would like to let you know, my Jam Good News people, that going to this mixer is part of the reason why this is now an established show. So I have done over 225 episodes of Bright Lights Live, which is the IG one that I've done. But seeing that room and really experiencing the fact that, like, you can have a voice in the conversation of the world, and having that panel there and the conversation, it really inspired me. I was like, you know what? I can do this. And I can do this on my own, in terms of, like, not trying to compete with others, but just offer another platform, another lane, another way to highlight the things that I would look for.
Right.
So thank you.
Yes, I appreciate knowing that. Yes,
absolutely.
Yes.
And I wanted to tell you on Jam Good News, because that's some Jam Good News.
Oh, okay. Jam Good.
Yeah. So in terms of just being who you are, and I know that there are, like, lots of different energies that we hear are in this industry, and you have worked with huge names, big budgets, big corporations. How do you deal with being yourself and interacting with other people who might not be on that same vibe, but you still have to get work done?
So first and foremost, I'm a person who lives in the authenticity of me. And one of my missions and ambitions was to figure out how to get paid to be myself. You know what I mean? It wasn't about any trade. It wasn't about any gift, because I realized, as I was talking, just, even as a youngster, how leaders were always very intrigued by me. And so at this point, I've been mentored and guided by some of the top leaders in our country and in our world. And it wasn't me paying to be a part of their programs or any of that kind of stuff like that, to where we are now with that. It was them being in the same room with me and feeling whatever people feel when they're around me, and deciding that they wanted to nurture and cultivate that. And so that was my ambition. How do you get paid to be this person that leaders are very intrigued by and want to impart wisdom on? How do you get paid to be this person that is able to relate to people coming from all walks of life, white, black, orange, brown, all the colors? How do you get paid to be a person who grew up nurturing a heart for the less fortunate? How do you get paid to be a person who people want to get connected to, and people want to be connected to, and then people are so intrigued by? And how do you get paid to be this person that has the most connections in most rooms that you're ever in? It's like I was transferring my phone when I switched from one unnamed phone company who cuts me no check to another unnamed phone company who cuts me no check. And so when I was transferring to these, they were transferring my contact from my phone, and I noticed that all the reps at the phone company were coming and looking at my phone like it was a big deal. Like, oh wow, look here. And I'm just kind of working on my laptop and watching them marvel about whatever's happening on my phone. And so, when they got finished with my phone, I come up to check out and all that. And so I was talking to the person that, got me started. And before I could really even talk to him good, like two other people from the unnamed phone company come over and say, "Hey, sir, excuse me, what do you do?" And just wanting to know what I did from whatever what was happening on my phone. And I was like, well, I own a award-winning brand management and strategy consulting agency, and I'm a real Renaissance man. And they were like, we've never seen anyone with this many contacts in their phone. And so my phone at this point has 21,000 contacts in it.
Wow.
And apparently the average person has 300 contacts. But that was never an ambition of mine either. It wasn't like, hey, how do you get a bunch of contacts? None of those things were my ambition. I just wanted to be authentic in the most moments of my time and space in my life, and it's led me to being one of the most diversely accomplished black men on this earth, and obviously one of the most connected human beings as well. And so then it was like, how do you monetize that? And that was really the basis of the Resource Guild. Like, I'm a person who I can probably call about 10 people to do anything that is necessary to be done under the sun. If you need a goon, just let me know. You need a groom, let me know. You know what I mean? Like, but just that connectivity, and it fulfills a part of what I know I'm on this earth to do, Because of course I live in the full anointing of Daniel. And Daniel, of course, was somebody who was an interpreter of dreams, and he was someone who had favor with the kings in the castles and with the kings in the jungle. And that's literally my life. I've worked with Ferrari and Maserati, but I've also worked with murdered rappers, you know what I mean? And so just that bandwidth. And then of course, all throughout that, I've always been a philanthropist, and I've always been a part of guiding people to higher heights in their lives as well. And it's just being myself and finding a space for all that I am. And so that's what I'm up to with all my time and space, including my time at the Resource Guild. I help our clients manifest their dreams, and the things that they see in their visions, I'm able to executably bring to fruition into real life.
I love that. I hope you all felt I don't even know what that word is, but it's like you envelop the idea of somebody's dream with all that you have, and you really are a resource. And I love that. And that's some damn good news.
Yes, a guild of resources.
A guild of resources.
Yeah, definitely. Which is a collection of artisans and masters in their respective trades and industries.
The metaphorical mic just dropped.
Okay, got it.
And I love it. When it comes to your faith, because I hear that you are a very spiritual man in your conversation, how do you every day massage that or practice that or grow that? Like, what are your practices to really keep you aligned with your own belief?
I think that if faith is a part of how you live and how you exist in an authentic way, a part of that is to just show up. It's to just believe that God is going to meet you everywhere that you go in your life, even in places, it's like, nowadays, we've seen such a disconnect within the body of Christ. And I think a big part of that disconnect, honestly, was them missing the Kirk Franklin bus. Yeah, I think that was a really polarizing time in the history of us as Christians, when we decided that Kirk Franklin was the devil. You know what I mean? And that his music was not of God and all those kinds of things, even though it had mass appeal and it was breaking down some walls that people had as a debut church. And so for me, I'm a second generation PK. My grandfather, Reverend Dr. W.K. Rayner, was the second longest tenured reverend in the entire history of the First Missionary Baptist Church. At the point that he died, he'd been preaching for over 80 years. And at that point, for me, religion and spirituality was always something that was very present to me. But going to college and participating in organizations like the Christian Community Development Association, CCDA, it allowed me to see and fill a void in my faith because a lot of times we go to churches and there's building funds and all those kinds of things like that, but we didn't always see the building, you know what I mean? And some of those things. So working with some of these parachurch organizations that are actually doing the work in the communities, in the name of Jesus, was something that was very helpful to me understanding what my faith looked like, because I didn't understand a lot of times why we were doing all these things on Sunday, but then all throughout the week, we weren't going and clothing the clotheless and providing food for those who didn't have it, and some of those essential basic needs, and so my faith kind of really was kind of fortified from having that religious backdrop, but then also being connected to organizations that were actually doing the work that filled those voids. So it gave me a more holistic look at what faith looked like, and how faith wasn't this judgmental, firm, rule and regulated space, as much as it was a state of being, and so I live in a state of in a belief that God is going to meet me everywhere that I ever go. And he's proven that over time. It's like, having an agency, being an entrepreneur, that in itself will fortify your faith, because you don't always know where that check is going to come from. You know what I mean? And it's not coming from the unnamed phone companies we talked about previously. You know what I mean? And so, and so you don't always know. And then our agency itself, we've existed for 10 years. Yep, we celebrated 10 years in September. And throughout this entire 10 years, we've never solicited business. We've never done an RFP. We've never done any pick me. We've never did any ad campaigns or any of those kinds of things. So our agency is fueled by faith completely. And because it's a business model, I couldn't teach anyone else. Like, hey, wait for God to send you a bunch of dope clients. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, and you could never teach that, but that's literally the place that I live. You know what I mean? So I live in faith, honestly. Like, it's my whole being. Like, I believe that good things are going to happen because I'm a good thing. I believe that blessings are going to flow to me because I'm a blessing to others. And in life, if you really believe that you reap what you sow, then there's an opportunity always to curate your own karma, and whether that's personal or professional.
And that is some jam good news. That right there, the fact that you understand that your thinking makes it so, that you and your life is a living proof of faith. Ooh, that felt so good. I want us, let's just sit in it for a little bit. Yes, that is everything. So I only have a few more questions because I know your time is...
Listen, I'm enjoying myself. It's a comfortable chair.
Yay!
I have 3 waters, so you can never call me thirsty.
That's...
Yeah, definitely.
I really enjoy you.
In fact, would you like some water?
Well, I'm good.
Okay, got it.
But really, in terms
of abundance is to the right of me.
But do you see what happens when he recognizes his abundance? It's more readily available for those he cares for and those he loves. I just appreciate that want within you. You talked about the young man that was getting attention from leaders. Now that you are this grown young man,
right?
And you are the leader. Talk to me about what you would say to a young soul like yours, or what you would do to help him prep for the life that you've been blessed with.
Well, I think what I would share, I guess, are some of the things that I still do share. As a leader, and because I've been led, I've been mentored, but I've also been those things even as a teenager myself. And so I think that things that are important to know at this point. I think it's important to know that we exist to be the answers to each other's prayers. Like, that is literally why we were the one.
Can I have that on a t-shirt or a hoodie? Like,
yeah.
I think the resource skill,
yeah,
it exists to be
the answers to each other's prayers.
I want that as a hoodie, and it's like I see it in shimmery silver. Okay.
Maybe a colorway.
Okay, that's fine.
Option C. You know what I mean? I want you to get your colorway off. Like, so funny. You know what I mean? But the initial mock-up, it won't be silvery. You know what I mean?
Fine.
Yeah.
This is why I hire a stylist, because I am not the one. But
yeah,
go ahead. I'm sorry. I just that was so good. I wanted to share it.
And so yes, but it's a reality that would put us in a better space with each other, and with in a better space internally as well. I think that our culture has, I wouldn't say evolved, because I'm trying to think of a word that means that we devolved. Yeah. I think we've devolved into a place of unapologetic selfishness. Like, people are, nowadays people act like they're supposed to get a badge or something for it. Like, damn right, I'm selfish. And to me, I think being selfish is the arch nemesis of love, and it's the arch nemesis of purpose. And I think it's very contributory to the depression numbers that we're seeing, the suicide numbers that are continuing to rise in our culture. And it's because we've disconnected to that truth, that we are the answers to each other's prayers. There are specific things that I know how to do that I'm able to help others do. There are specific things that you know how to do that I don't know how to do. And those things are also very helpful. And I think about when Martin Luther King talked about the beloved community. It was a place that everyone bought their gifts with glee. You know what I mean? It wasn't, it was, I can't wait to do the thing that I'm really good at doing for the benefit of us. And nowadays, everyone, not everyone, because I really absolutely don't believe in talking in absolutes, because everyone doesn't do anything. Our culture and some of the prevailing winds in our culture are about self-preservation, taking care of you. You are the one, it's you, and now we're even hearing a very unamazing term called self-made. And there's actually no authenticity to the fact that you're self-made unless you can print your own money and use that money to buy things legally. Like, you know what I mean? Otherwise, somebody had to spend money with you. Somebody had to give you an opportunity. And so, with that being said, no one is self-made. And so, I think that it's just really important for us to get back to that authenticity, that we are the answers to each other's prayers. And so when we get to that place, we will have more meaningful relationships with more people, which will absolutely be helpful to people's mental health, the loneliness and all those kinds of things. But it also gives people more fulfillment in the things that they do with their time and space. And so, did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay,
yes, you did. And another question to follow up on, what are some of the thoughts that you keep on repeat in your own mind?
I remembered your question again. It was, what would I say to my, yeah. And so, so I want to get back to that. And I would tell myself that be present where you are. Don't think about 3 years from now. Don't think about 4 years from now. Don't think about 3 months from now. Like, the value that comes from being right where you are will create an opportunity for God to take you to much higher, much better, much more productive spaces, no matter where you are in your life. Just be there. You know what I mean? And so that in itself will open up a lot of opportunities to people, because, you know, we're in spaces now where our cell phones have gotten us addicted to them. We can't put that thing down, and it's keeping us from being in our moments. And that's what we're gonna miss over time. We're gonna miss our moments. And that's what our enemy wants to do to us. He wants to delay us, and he wants to distract us from being present in our moment. So I would tell myself to just be present where you are. I would tell myself to make sure that I get my skills up, get the things that I can add to the world, get more of those things, and then get more people who want to add. And so where you're never ever in an isolated space with your gifts and with your abilities. I would tell myself that too. I would tell myself to dance often with somebody's daughter, you know, specifically, you know what I mean? Like, to dance and to make sure that I am creating the reality that I want for myself and for the people around me with the things that I'm able to do.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, so I would tell myself that. And now go back to your follow-up question, because I remembered it after you asked
your repeat thoughts. Because a lot of times, being somebody who is so sure in your understanding and your faith, that means that you've had them on repeat for a while. So what are some of the thoughts that you've had on repeat that really help you go throughout your day?
Let's go. Yeah, let's go is something that it's very much readily available to me. Like, let's go. You know, like, it's the going, you know, the showing up. So I'm thinking, let's go. How does this benefit my people? It's something that's also, you know, in my mind. And how do you do the least amount of work to get the most amount of money? That's also something that I'm thinking about always, because, you know, it's like I never ever wanted to, honestly, I didn't look at grinding as aspirational. I didn't look at hustling as aspirational. I looked at what it meant to get paid to be myself. And that was aspirational for me. And so in a lot of times I'm like, what do I think? What would I do? You know what I mean? Even as the decision I get to make, I'm still thinking, what would I do? And it helps me process, because a lot of times I'm thinking about everyone else. You know, my heart my mind is very selfless. Like, I'm not thinking about how, I'm not thinking about me at the pinnacle or at the apex of any decision that I ever make. I'm thinking about my legacy. I'm thinking about my staff as an employer, and I'm thinking about our culture. Like, how do we ascend that? So those are some of the things that I'm thinking about and saying to myself regularly. Those are my conversations, and sometimes I'm chastising of myself. So sometimes it's, come on, Daniel, are you kidding me? Like, Daniel, are you kidding me right now? You know what I mean? And like, yeah. So that's something that I'll ask myself also, and be saying to myself, bro, are you kidding me? Like, you know, like, I'll sometimes look at my list of tasks and things that my executive liaison, Lex, the visionary, lays out for me to execute in the course of a day. And I have this thing now where I want to do 10 things every day. And sometimes I'll do 3, or sometimes I'll do 7, but either way, I'm still saying, come on, Daniel, are you kidding me right now? Like, because I want to do the 10 things, but I'll get sidetracked with this or that. And then when you're somebody who is a point of contact for so many different brands, so many different campaigns, and then you have so many different pots on the stove. It's like with one client, we're planning a comedy show. With another client, we're doing a Christmas celebration. With another client, we're planning, a give back for our city's hungry and homeless. And so each one of those projects has so many tentacles, you know what I mean? And so I'm gonna be getting most of those calls, and granted, I have a team and I can delegate those things, but I'm still taking those calls and funneling and fielding them. And so sometimes that takes me away from doing my 10 tasks, but I'm still like, come on, Daniel, are you kidding me? I want to do my 10 tasks every day. And so sometimes it's that. So sometimes I'm kicking myself in the butt, like, dude, like, are you kidding me right now? And that's something that I'm telling myself, are you kidding me right now, Daniel? Are you serious? Come on, bro. Like, so I'm saying all kinds of stuff to me.
I love that. I love that. So I do know that when it comes to being somebody who is in the public eye, but also behind the scenes, you wear a lot of different hats. Talk to me about, and this is the question before the last question, because I have one more.
Okay.
But
listen. Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
In terms of the hats that you wear, how do you stay disciplined enough and keep them separate, but also have them be all that they are, all at the same time?
Yeah, I don't see keeping them separate as a logical thing. Yeah, that's not logical to me. Because the way that I'm able to advise and instruct and guide, it comes from being a holistic human. Like, it doesn't come from a specialization in one thing or another. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's I was recently featured in an article, and the headline was, one of the most diversely accomplished black men in the world, Mr. Daniel Dickey. And so, and at the end of the day, I couldn't disagree with that statement. It's, just our agency in itself. We've launched faith-based clothing lines, we've launched cars, we've launched liquors, we've launched restaurants, we've launched albums, we've launched music festivals, we've launched therapy engagements in conjunction with music festivals. And but I'm also a kid who I've coached kids who played in the NBA as a basketball coach. I've done that. I've been a soccer coach. I played tennis. I play baseball. I am weapons trained and threat neutralization trained. All of those things come into every decision that I make. You know what I mean? And so I would say that would be, if there was a competitive advantage of working with me as opposed to someone else, it would be because I am all those things. So when I think about a decision about where we're going to set up a stage, I'm thinking about light. I'm thinking about security. I'm thinking about the best, most vantage points for the most people in the audience. And so my mind thinks about all of those things at one time. And so I think that's why my decisions come with a bit more gravity and brevity, if you will, than those of some of my colleagues, because I am thinking about these things as a Renaissance man, not just as an event producer, or not just as a publicist, or not just as any one of those things. So because I don't see things monolithically, I automatically give an opportunity for the more expansive opportunity to take place. It's like when you think about the buildings, when you look at architecture, and when you think about the buildings that were built 200 years ago, and they still had the infrastructure below them, you know what I mean, for parking and to interact with transit, and some of that stuff wasn't even created yet, but they had the forward thinking to think about those things. And now those buildings, even though they're hundreds of years old, work more seamlessly with the infrastructure of transportation in some major cities than buildings that have just been built relatively recently.
With that wealth of knowledge, what is it calling you forward to learning new things or to being in these different industries? Like, what is that innate feeling, or what do you have that caused that?
What do I have that causes that? What do I have that causes what again?
Okay, what do you have that calls to you the want to have like weapons training and all these things? That seems like a very wide range of just subjects to be interested in. What in you calls that to you?
Yeah, so, and that's the thing. It's like, like it was never my ambition. Like this wasn't like, this, like as I look back over it, I can see it now. But when I was in the midst of any of these things, it wasn't to amalgamate them. You know what I mean? That wasn't ever in my mind. It was just, these were the opportunities, these were the blessings that were flowing to me. You know what I mean? And granted, I did watch a lot of secret agent movies, and I still do. You know what I mean? Like, look, granted, you know what I mean? And so, and so James Bond was somebody who I was such a fan of because he was sleek, you know what I mean? Sophisticated, but, you know what I'm saying? Will shoot it out with you and wasn't gonna miss a lot. You know what I mean? And wasn't gonna do a lot of back and forth. You know what I mean? He always ended up with a pretty girl at the end. You know what I mean? And so it was like, okay, well, the guy who ends up with pretty girls, he can read, he can go to the opera, he can fight, he can shoot. You know what I mean? He's got a sense of style. You know what I mean? And he also, you know what I mean, is going to has the ability to thwart the plot to, you know, yeah, exactly. You know, exactly. And so, exactly. And so it was all of those things all in one is actually kind of how that happened. It was never, hey, I just want to, it was never like I'm checking these skills off or checking these boxes. It was really just allowing my faith to take me into the places that it would take me to, and then allowing God to shower me with his love through his people, through the gifts that they offered. You know what I mean? And a lot of these things were those gifts. Like, hey, we're gonna do threat neutralization training, and we're gonna comp your course and that kind of thing. And it's like, because we appreciated you inviting us and hiring my security company to work this music festival or those kinds of things. And it was so it would be gratitude being expressed by others that also just kind of fielded and created opportunities for me to generate a billionaire social currency life. Is what I would say, because I think there's a currency that I've mastered called social currency, and it causes me to not have to spend money on things that most people are spending money on. It's like, you want to go to this concert, tickets are $300 a piece. I'm sending somebody an email or a text and getting those same tickets, maybe even better tickets, respectfully. Probably, what I mean? Like, probably better tickets get the band. Yeah. Respectfully, you know what I mean? And so, so that was, I think, so those are some of the things that kind of, that go into that for me, and it's just all comes back around to being on a frequency that I understand that blessings flow to me on, and those blessings flow to me and they flow to others through me as well.
Okay, so one of the things that I love to do as like a show person is constantly improve my show. Okay. So every time I get an opportunity to practice, because I think that all of life is practice, is to add something new. Okay. So I would love to add a rapid fire portion where I'm gonna ask 5 questions and quick answer. Okay. Ready?
Look, they can never call me thirsty.
Right. And so y'all know you are watching Jam Good News, and I have been here with Mr. Daniel Dickey. Y'all have been understanding and learning from a genius, a man who, by other people's claim, is one of the most diversely successful black men in the world. They gave him the whole globe, and I check and approve. I'm excited. Y'all don't know, this is some Jam Good News.
Jam, oh jam. Yeah, jam. Yeah. Every time I hear the word jam, I think about the song.
I love it. Okay, ready?
All right, hold on. Let me sit back and look cool for these 5.
Oh, you're so cool.
It needs to look cool though. All right. Fire away.
Favorite word to say?
My favorite word to say, honestly, it's the word fuck. like, and I'll add it to a statement. I'll put it in between a word, like, you know what I mean? Like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Like, you know what I mean? Yes, yeah, like, just, yeah. Fuck is my favorite. Probably one of my favorite words.
That's cool. It made you smile.
Yeah,
so that's awesome.
And then my other one will be grateful.
I like it.
Fuck
I like
and grateful. Yeah, definitely.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Favorite advice you've ever gotten?
Wow. Yikes. Favorite advice I've ever gotten? I couldn't do that one rapidly. I've had so much advice from so many people.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. You gotta go through all the files.
Yes, I'm like, yes, that's Ooh. Man. Ooh. It's having to pick one thing. I think it's a problem. Maybe this one, and again, I can't even pick one. Like, honestly, there's just no way.
This is one of the top 10.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking audience specific. I'm localizing this into some certain ways. You will never run out of capacity to love. Always love one more time, and then again, one more time.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I think we as a people, we think that our love is supposed to be shrunken down into this little capsule that you give to one person forever. But I think love is something that we're supposed to be pouring out into the world in the way that we do every single thing that we do with our time. You know, and so I think understanding our capacity to love is that vast. You know, because how can we understand that we are the iterations of God who has the ability to love 8.5 billion people plus all the birds and the ground and the land, and then we have it for, you know, these 20 people that are close to us. Like, you know, so love, our love should be so much bigger, and it should be so much less contained. Like, we have so much more of that to give always.
Your favorite physical touch?
My favorite physical touch, or my favorite is physical touch as well. So I'll say that number one. Like, that's my top love language. Nice. Like, in fact, I've touched you a couple of times during this interview. Yes, exactly. And so I think that just any physical touch is my favorite. Okay. But yes, who was it? Case? Touch me, tease me. Yes. Touch me, tease me. Yeah, definitely. Touch me. Okay. Yeah, that's my favorite physical touch.
I like it.
Often.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Regularly. Yes, that's my favorite physical touch.
I'm here for that. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
And that was the third question. Fourth question. Favorite color?
You know, this process, because I'm a very intricate human, it's like, it takes me back to the ad campaign for Miller Lite where it was like, taste great or less filling. And they were like, the whole stadium, like, taste great, less filling. But the reality is, it could taste great and be less filling. Those two things get to exist at the same time. So that's, I think, my problem with this rapid fire thing. So, you know what I mean? So, all right, so now, what was it again?
Your favorite color.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, to wear. Does that narrow it down a little bit?
Vaguely. Yes, look, so I would say that it's like I teeter and totter because I want to say orange. Like, but I know earth tones are it. Okay. So I can say my favorite color is earth tones.
Copy. I love it. You give yourself a spectrum within a favorite color. I am here for that.
Yes, earth tones are my favorite color. Okay. Specifically. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. And last rapid fire, the favorite advice you've given.
Favorite advice that I have given. Yikes.
Another one.
No, exactly. I mean, because, you know, I'm situational with advice. You know what I mean? I think that you know, it really just depends, because sometimes my best advice is do not trust your gut unless you take probiotics. You know, it's like, you know, people are, you know, it's like people can't wait to trust their gut, but your gut is filled with trauma. Your gut is filled with fear. Your gut is filled with doubt. And so you think it's your gut, but these are your insecurities that you're manifesting and projecting onto someone as your gut. So I like that one.
And I want that on a hoodie as well.
Yeah, definitely.
What?
And so, but I think, best advice. Again, that's such a tough one because I'm giving advice all the time. You know what I mean? And so, I think I would tell. Oh, this is a good one. A better question to ask in most scenarios, in most situations in your life, a much better question to ask is why not? Always trying to figure out why. You know, why should I go? Why should I do this? Why should I? But a better question to amplify your opportunities, and to amplify your joy, and to amplify your ability to go further is to ask yourself, why not? Yeah, why not? Like, why not you? Why not go? Why not try? You know what I mean? You know, and so I just think that's just to ask yourself, why not? Much more than you're always trying to figure out why. And I think that'll lead your life to it being more adventurous, and you'll also accomplish more things.
And that is some jam good news. I have appreciated every single moment of this conversation with you. You are truly the energy that I felt day one, and every single opportunity that I've seen you since. We've ran into each other, and there's only hugs and only good greetings, and I appreciate you for that. Especially knowing that I am one of 21,000 people in your phone, you know, but you make me feel like I am the one every time you see me.
Right, because I'm present. I'm right there. Like, you know what I mean? I don't see you, and I'm not looking past you to this or that. Like, just in the moments that I think we have with each other, we should work to be more present in those moments. And I think that will make sure you get more out of every minute that you spend on this earth, you know, is that. And also, something else that I do want to go back and spin the block on.
I'm here for it.
Exactly. Something else that I would, advice that I would give is to live simply. I've been a minimalist for about 25 years, and what that allows me to do is it allows me to have a staff and to pay employees. It allows me to get dressed much faster. It allows me to think less about a lot of things that keep people from going and showing up in the world the way they're supposed to. And so I think that this country really does a really good job at bringing consumerism and capitalism at the forefront of our decision making. And we build up lives based on the bills that we've created for ourselves. But when you live simply, you have a freer backdrop to process information and opportunities, because some things aren't good for you. Some opportunities aren't yours, but if it's you thinking about taking this opportunity and the other option is to be homeless, you know what I mean? Then there's that. But if you don't get a bunch of bills, then you won't have a bunch of people you have to answer to. You know what I mean? And so I think minimalism is something that I want to make sure that I impart on this audience, because for me personally, I'm very intellectually insulted by capitalism and consumerism. Like, it's actually insulting understanding that in books they're teaching anyone who wants to learn about marketing and business that black people are going to spend more money than they have to look better than other black people in the same struggles, dealing with the same challenges, but I want to one up you with a Gucci headband, you know what I mean? And those kinds of things, when we understand that these companies are literally preying upon the ignorance of us as consumers. So I would also want to definitely, I think that's jam good living. Simply with substance.
I love that. I love that. You are an amazing human being. I appreciate you so much. All right, everybody. As you have heard, right here on Jam Good News, Mr. Daniel Dickey. The crowd goes wild.
Yeah, shout out to the crowd going wild. Appreciate you.